Hello and welcome to New Game Plus for 2019. How are you going, Jason?
I am fine. It has been a long wait.
Yeah.
Happy to be back in the studio. All the paths are clear, so everything should be good to go for now.
Yep.
We pray. Well, I don't pray.
But we've had a slightly longer summer/autumn kind of
Autumn-ish,
break.
yeah.
What have you been spending during this
Look,
time?
I've been a busy boy. We've
Yeah.
been involved with some great events. Obviously, there's been some Couch Warriors stuff. We did a bunch of cool stuff with Devil May Cry, things
Yeah.
like that. So we're at Madfest in Sydney. So there's been plenty of cool events that we've been part of. So I've been busy, and it hurts me to say, but I haven't actually played as many games as I want to. I've still
You've been
played
leaning
a
into
bit.
the plus side of New Game Plus.
I have, yeah. So we've been doing a bunch of other cool events and stuff, and of course, we'll let you guys know when they're happening. But realistically, yeah, I've been fiending Yokai Watch because there's a new Yokai Watch. It's not new, but it's new. And then on my Switch, and that's it. Like realistically,
Yep.
Played a bit of Seriko. I know it's Sekiro, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, what about you?
Like I have fallen, despite all the new games that are coming out, especially with March being basically Christmas 2 Electric Boogaloo, I've fallen into kind of just like the old comfort food. So your Destiny 2s, your Magic Arenas.
Classic Donald.
Yeah, because I have to play to a type here. We're in like season 9.
True. That's
we're,
true.
we're in like season 9 of this show. I'm Flanderized at this
That's
point.
true. Yeah. Donald is this. Yeah.
Yes.
The funny part is, of course, being that period, it's been just such a great period of game, especially for Japanese fans. Like we always say, it's Japanese Christmas. So there's Christmas for the Westerners, and then there's Christmas for the Japanese. And Christmas for the Japanese is always between kind of late Jan, kind of mid-March. So there's enough kind of sales so that they make it for Japanese financial year.
Yes, and we will cover some of the spoils of Japanese Christmas this episode.
So from Capcom and Namco have had a particularly big thing. We'll cover a bunch of other stuff as well. There's a lot of other cool stuff that has come out. But yeah, those two in particular, firing on all cylinders, kicking just a bunch of goals. So it's been interesting to see how well they've done. So it's going to be, we'll discuss those games in a little bit more detail going forward. But I mean, what are you excited about, Donald? We're coming into a new...
I'm excited to see how 29 pans out in terms we've got all these rumors in terms of whether new consoles will come out or not. So
when those Switch SKUs come out, I'm going to have Jack in his spot, and I'm just going to go, heh.
I'm not sure if we could have that on TV for 2 minutes. It'd help.
Yeah, you can. I promise you can. Not that people would watch it, but you can definitely put it on television. So.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm just excited to play some of the games that are going to come out this year because there are always going to be plenty.
And it is interesting because if you have a look at the kind of the end of the year, there's a little bit of a drought. There's a bunch of good titles coming. You're right. And then comes September, there's a few that are coming out. But there's a little bit of a drought. So that's why I reckon we get our E3 announcement for at least Microsoft, but I reckon we'll get it for a few others. And then come new consoles 2020, Christmas 2020. Just got a feeling in me bones. I've been doing this a bit too long. So I know either way it's exciting times, and either way we should probably continue the show. The last chance to watch the show in this format, by the way, which we'll go into detail in the closing links. But off to the next thing, you reckon, Dom?
Yep.
So it would be remiss of us to not do a catch-up episode and discuss one particularly big Japanese player at the moment. That is, of course, Capcom.
From software.
Capcom.
Capcom, right,
Yes,
right.
Capcom.
Okay. We're on the same page now.
That's what you meant. Yeah. Because they have had, the last two Christmases, so they've had just stellar hits after stellar hits. It was Resi 7 Monhan last year, and it was Resi 2 and what's the other one? Devil May Cry this year. 4 stellar games just inside of the Japanese Christmas break, because it's the Japanese Christmas break. I don't even know where to start. I know you played a bunch of Resi, and obviously there are a lot of changes to Resi, but I don't think the changes are bad at all. I think, if anything, there's a couple that I disagreed with. I don't like new voice actors. I don't like certain things. You know what I mean? But I think, as a general rule, they did a great job of bringing that old-style gameplay with the split stories and stuff into the new world.
And I think you're pretty much on the ball there. I was kind of a bit more of a nuanced playthrough, considering I've played probably about at least maybe 60 to 70 hours of it at the moment. I'm hooked on it. I can't play anything else.
Yeah.
So It's an absolutely nuts game which manages to marry, I guess, some of the nostalgic concepts of the game and manages to marry new elements. And by new, I mean it's a lot more. It's kind of like an amalgamation of every single other Resident Evil game to date. Like, for example, it's got the idea of gunpowder combinations, like in Resident Evil 3. You've got the defense items, like in the remaster, like the remake. So it manages to get all these concepts, bring them together into one game, and it feels like just like a greatest hits, so to speak.
And I think that is what is encouraging about it. Is it was made in what they call now the Resident Evil engine. So they're obviously intent on making either more remakes or more Resident Evil games. But then it's kind of their Fox engine, if you will. You know, all these games should be being made in thing. And I think you're right. They do a good job of marrying the nostalgia of the previous ones into kind of changing the gameplay form, because instantly you've gone from these fixed camera angles to a 3D world. So straight away you have to change at least some of the mechanics. And they've done a good job of making that fair without kind of breaking the core concept, the core kind of conceit and the survival horror elements of it.
And they've managed to do stuff like a lot of people like to complain about the complete missing of, I guess, the reluctance to make everything fixed camera.
Yeah.
But I guess the third-person camera view is so oppressive to the point that you still can't figure out what's around the corner. Like you still need to make a concerted effort towards that. So it manages to get those concepts that a lot of people were complaining or a little bit skeptical of, and it still ended up a pretty positive experience.
And I think, again, and you mentioned there, the camera is probably the key, and that actually leads to the next game, because the camera is tight, it moves slow, it's kind of set in like, to pivot it around takes a lot of time, which you can do, which obviously you couldn't do previously, but it's still slow enough to make it scary, whereas something like DMC, and yeah, probably DMC has a little bit of a problem where sometimes you've got to fight the camera a bit. Like, it's not From Software bad, but it can be a little bit like that. But having that camera zoomed out is better, because you can go, cool, here's all this cool crap that I'm doing, like now I've changed this, now I've changed that, now I've done this, here's all this cool crap I'm doing, and it just captures all, it just looks so stylish.
Yep, and Devil May Cry 5 also has a very similar element to it of, like, you know, the best of. And there seems to be a bit of a trend going on here where they've done a lot of market research going, what makes DMC DMC, and what's some of the new stuff we want to try out. So the appearance of V taking more of a passive approach to combat and kind of, instead of going completely balls to the wall like Dante or being completely aggro like Nero, so he has his own little niche that he fits in there and makes it unique to DMC5's playstyle, the way it looks, its aesthetic, everything like that. And that's what I love about it, is that it takes a couple of chances. It takes a couple of those aspects from DMC Devil May Cry, the one that nobody likes.
Which is a shame, because
which
it's
is a
very
shame,
good game,
but there's actually positive aspects about it. And DMC5 seems to kind of pioneer and amplify that, saying that there were actually good parts about that game. We've taken those concepts, and even the creator, Itsuno-san, had actually identified that, going, I want to make a game that's very similar to that, and 5 seems to be that middle ground.
Yeah, and I would say the big thing that really comes out of it, especially from the character designs, is that in the previous ones, they've all been very pretty. And the game's always been very stylish, but obviously you had the older style graphics, so you couldn't really convey that. Now that they've got these HD graphics, even Nico, the new character, she's got a little bit of the toothy smile, she's got a little bit of the buck, like the not pig nose, but like the upturned nose.
Yes.
Like, she's a little bit, not ugly, but a little bit imperfect. And they're all a little bit imperfect. You have a look at their things, like, they're good archetypes for what they are, but V's got the Adam Driver nose, like, you know, they're all a little bit, and I think the imperfections mixed with the kind of the Uniqlo aesthetic, the Uniqlo chic, if you will, of their outfits.
Even Virgil has a bit of like a Chester Bennington to him,
Yeah,
like in
yeah,
Hybrid
yeah.
Theory
Crawling
era
in
Linkin
his
Park,
skin,
rest in peace. But it doesn't stop there. Hits don't stop there. There's a lot of stuff looking forward to if you're a Capcom fan. Stuff like Phoenix Wright, and with Itsuno as well, we've also got the Dragon's Dogma Switch release coming out. And maybe, if you guys are loud enough, Itsuno might maybe direct another Dragon's Dogma. So let's see what happens there.
Yeah, push that. Maybe, hopefully someone, like, again, they've...
He had a lot of success with DMC5,
That
so
is true.
the sky's the limit.
They've had a lot of great stuff come out. I mean, I'm still praying for an Asura's Wrath 2. Man
Yes,
can
of course
dream.
you are.
Never going to happen, though. But again, when it's all said and done at the moment, Capcom just kicking goals.
Absolutely.
There's been two big companies this year, especially at the start of the year, that have really come out of the guns. Let's talk about one of them now.
Lay it on me.
Namco Bandai. Or Bandai Namco. Namco Bandai. Which one is it? I don't know.
Bamco Nandai. Yes, that's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Easy.
that's
Yep.
right.
Yep. Nanio. Okay. So they've had probably more games release in this kind of period than Capcom have. So I think they've had 4 biggies. They've had Ace Combat, which you enjoyed a lot. They had God Eater. They've had World Seeker, and they've had Jump Force.
Yep.
Not in any particular order. And of those, I mean, unlike say Capcom's 2, which were just stellar games.
Yep. It's a bit
I mean,
more
Ace
of-
Combat was cool.
Yeah,
like,
it was a bit more of a mixed bag, and
Yeah.
that's the thing with all these fantastic properties that Bandai Namco have under their belt. Like, it would be remiss of them not to have that machine gun approach, and unfortunately, with that kind of comes with the consequence of you're going to have some great ones, you're going to have some not so great ones.
and this is kind of the thing, and I think probably the big takeaways from it is obviously Ace Combat you enjoyed a lot, and I think the good thing that Ace Combat does is it kind of has fun with its like what it should have done. Everyone, Ace Combat Dog has been a meme for the last couple of months.
It just revels in its nonsense, and that's what I love about it. Is that like instead of like trying to go like kind of dipping their toe in like Assault Horizon, where they went like, should we or shouldn't we? This one they're jumping straight into the pool and going silly with it, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then probably the other one that deserves a tiny mention is the poor man's Burning Blood, i.e. Jump Force. My God, those character models, my God, everything about that game.
Everything,
It's just no fun.
all the
no fun allowed.
Yeah, the aesthetic as well. You can tell that they were going for like a sort of, we're going for the Western audience. We're going to try and bring Jump to the Western shores by making everyone's skin look like it's made from pig skin and all of their clothes
Greasy
made from
leather.
fiberglass or greasy leather.
Greasy leather, and then like the legally distinct from Professor X, who's running the whole show, like with his like sunken.
Man, his
jaws and stuff.
eyebrows. I wish I could have
Oh,
eyebrows like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
man.
they're on fleek.
Don't say that word ever again.
But like, it really, it wasn't great, and we're going to cover that in detail going forward. But I guess the two that probably deserve a little bit of time on their own is God Eater, because we're a big Monster Hunter crew here. Like a lot of our guys play a bit of Monster Hunter, and we're obviously excited for the sequel. But God Eater has always been probably the most successful of the collaboration battle games. You remember 5 years ago, Soul Sacrifice. Yeah, that's the only other one that really sticks out to me. God, but like God Eater came out in that period, and it was the only one that's really had legs. Maybe that's because it is Namco Bandai.
I think also Japan has had a bit of attraction with that.
Yeah.
Their studios that do lead God Eater are the ones that have kind of done these kinds of games for a long time.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of traction. If there's no Monster Hunter, there's God Eater, and it kind of takes a bit of a different approach where it's a lot more instant action. If you just want to sit there, you know, like speed over finesse, hitting things really fast and hard with a weapon, go nuts. If you're not interested in all the intimacy and the tension of the hunt in Monster Hunter, God Eater is like instant action. It's a good alternative.
I've always said Monster Hunter is deliberately clunky. You can tell it's a design choice that they make. You have to put your weapon away to do Superman dive. It is so intentionally clunky, and I think that World does a really good job of alleviating some of that. But we've got it. Like it's a little bit more fresh action, a little bit less of a grind. Like there's no like, how do I get a gem out of an Otogoron? You know, like. It's less of that. We have to hunt Autogorons for the next 6 weeks.
So I cut my teeth on Rathalos rubies. And I never got any rubies.
Yeah, exactly. So and so I think it does offer that thing. So at least it's got its own unique niche, and it's a little bit. There's no real scene in Australia, but it's obviously doing well enough that they've made a third one. This is the third one.
And also localizing it, so it kind of says something. Like they're still trying, they give it a go, and kind of hats off to them for that. So
because I don't think the second one didn't get localized.
We eventually got it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yes. But moving on.
Yes. The other one that's interesting, and we mentioned Burning Blood before, is of all things, One Piece World Seeker.
Yes.
Which is like you're on a prison island, and like it's like a side canon kind of thing.
Yeah,
and, like,
Luffy gave up on the grand line. He's like, man, the prison life is for me.
Yeah. Oh, diddly dee. I don't know.
Yeah, isn't that how the pirate kind of song goes?
I
Yo
think-
ho. No, moving on. So, it's dreaming. No, it's not.
Oh,
So, One Piece World Seeker pretty much has Luffy pitted up against a lot of like open world elements. Some of them work, some of them don't. The world is a little bit empty and devoid of side content, which kind of
like
sucks.
stealth and like it's like
Stuff that Luffy shouldn't really be doing.
It's not his
but-
style. He normally just shows
Yeah.
up, eats too much, and then hits things.
But I do like the traversal. It kind of like, I guess, kind of builds up from Unlimited World Red in the sense that you're going around doing side quests, doing like Spider-Man 2-tier kind of web slinging with these gum like rockets and stuff. And again, like they've tried something a little bit interesting, and who wouldn't have wanted Luffy doing that kind of stuff anyway? Like we're gonna get it eventually. It would have been cool if you could like sail different areas, because that's what One Piece is: pirates sailing around being cronies and idiots.
That said, the last One Piece game that I super enjoyed that wasn't Burning Blood was Musou Warriors, and I mean it technically has really no bearing on the actual series anyway. Like it's just it's Koei Tecmo made a game for Namco
But if
Bandai.
it's non-canon and they're trying some new stuff out, like if they do build on it just like they did with Unlimited World Red, and then they go World Seeker, and then they offer a more refined experience where they actually put side content into it, I think they're probably they're on the right track. Not quite there yet, but if they keep going with it, I think there'd be something special.
It's been interesting to see how the main thing for Namco at the moment is just leveraging IPs. And that's something that actually Kenny did a great article about, discussing how Namco are really focusing on leveraging IPs. I think that's the big thing at the moment, is you're going to see a lot of licensed IPs getting unique styles of games, or like games that are different things. So I'm not quite as taken with the Namco lineup as I have been with the Capcom one lately.
They got to get Spike Chunsoft to keep making VNs and not action games, but that's just my opinion.
No, that is 100% accurate. Or Burning Blood 2. Now, we've obviously covered a lot in this episode how it has been just another bumper Japanese Christmas. It is wall-to-wall great Japanese games, and we didn't even mention all the ones that I wanted to mention so far, like, you know, Yokai Watch 3 and Earth Defense Force 5. Both very good games, and we'll cover them in a little bit more detail later. But I guess it's worth covering a lot of the games that came out that weren't Japanese titles. And there have been a bunch of really good titles amongst a bunch of not so good titles, and this seems to be what happens now at the start of the year. So one that came out that was, I believe it was Switch, PC, a few other platforms, Wargroove. So it's a fantastic little tactical game, top-down tactical game, similar to an Advanced Wars kind of deal, set in this, this world of, knights and tree people and all these interesting kind of tropey but interesting characters. But realistically, it's all about that tactical gameplay, and for that, it absolutely succeeds. Fantastic game, fantastic premise. It really just does so much with the kind of the things that Advance Wars brought us, and continues on into their own little take on that strategy genre. Going kind of the other way, we go into Far Cry New Dawn. Now, this is the follow-on sequel to Far Cry 5. We know my thoughts on Far Cry 5. I think they kind of pushed out a little bit in the story. Gameplay was solid, not unspectacular. Man, 2's still the best one. However, New Dawn brings it in a unique twist in that you play after the bombs have dropped. Sorry, spoils, but it's been a year. So the bombs have dropped. You're in the nuclear wasteland that is now Montana, or wherever it was set. I think it was Montana. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Moral stories. You go through the backwaters, and you're dealing with kind of the different sects that have grown up, and all of the previous church and all that you were dealing with. It just does such a good job. And the fact that it has co-op instantly means that it doesn't necessarily make games better, but it makes them easy to get through if you're not enjoying them. Like, if it's a tedious game, have a bit of fun together while you're playing together. And it just helps this game really go to a new level above what the previous game did. The next one on that list that I should mention, and we'll go into big detail on it later, Metro Exodus, another fantastic edition that came out. Deep Silver has been working on this for a long time. They finally bring it out. Great game, but it does have its flaws. Similar to Crackdown 3, it has its flaws. So Metro Exodus' the biggest problem is that the way they've done the self-contained worlds and the kind of the changing ending, like, I like the way they've done it, but at the same time, I don't know that it needed to be done. You're telling a good enough story as it is. You don't need to chuck in these kind of, pick your path kind of ways. I'm not a big fan of that. I never really have been a big fan of it unless it's done really, really well. I think Red Dead does it better as an example, but still Metro X is still a very good game. The other one that's worth mentioning, it's not that enjoyable game. It's okay, Crackdown 3. It just feels like a game from a different era. The biggest problem is that it just feels like it, when it was started being made in like 2007, it just feels like it's a game from then. And there are issues with this and Exodus around voice, and we'll go into that a little bit detail in one of the later episodes, but it's just the writing really just does not sit well with me. And maybe that's because, I don't know, of my upbringing, but it just doesn't sit well. However, the game itself plays really well in the sense that it feels nice jumping around and all that kind of silliness. But the problem is we've been spoiled by too many good open world games. Like, you've got Saints Row, as I always reference in that point. There's a bunch of good open world games that just do this formula better. So what could be said about these games so far? Wargroove's really worth a look. Far Cry's decent. Exodus, we'll cover it in detail later in another ep of the show, but that's a really good game. Crackdown 3, not so good, still worth a look. EDF 5 though, have I ever spoken about how much I love Earth Defense Force 5? It is hands down my favourite series over the last 15 years. And every time it comes out, I play it. I was waiting for them to cut me because I swear at some point they're going to get sick of me talking about Earth Defense Force 5. Buy Earth Defense Force 5, it's a very good game. I shouldn't say that, you're not allowed to say that, but you should play it because it's a very good game. They just gave you a bunch of free missions. Very, very good game. Go play it. Go play it. Go save bugs. Go kill bugs. Don't save bugs. Kill bugs. Save Earth. Kill bugs. They're spiders though, so no Donald.
it really, really has been a purple patch for Capcom, hasn't it?
So obviously, like a couple of years ago, Capcom went a bit of a downward turn. Like Street Fighter didn't go great for them. There were a few other games, and even before kind of Street Fighter V, and Street Fighter V to me was just kind of the culmination of this kind of blockage that they had. Like before that, they'd fired a few good, reasonably good developers, but they still had some decent games coming out. They still had some that were like, it's not great, but it's good. And then kind of Street Fighter V was that here's meant to be like a tentpole game, and like we only sold 1.7 million copies. Like that's not huge in the grand scheme of things. But then the new Youngblood's taken over, and since Resident Evil 7, Monster Hunter, Resident Evil 2, DMC, all bangers, absolute. They've been such good video games, and they've had like the right monetization. They've been selling like up to like I think Monster Hunter got to like 7 million or something.
No, yeah, like astronomical numbers for what is ostensibly such a niche franchise as well.
And look, it is a popular niche, and that's what people need to understand. It is still a niche series. It's a popular niche, but it's a niche series.
And that seems to be like aside, Resident Evil aside, like Capcom have done well in just just targeting their niches and targeting them well.
And I think that's been probably the key to their success is they've gone, here is what people enjoy about our games. Let's make it look cool, play as well as it possibly can. And there are a couple of things that I don't like about the new presentation, but I'm not convinced I'm supposed to like it. Like RE2 changed the way certain things work, like the knife collapses, all that kind of stuff. So there's things that don't work for it, but at the same time, it's still such like an intrinsically good remake that will draw the new blood in anyway. The nostalgic kids are getting what they need out of it. The remake is so good, the new kids are getting it. I don't know, just like absolutely kicking goals.
Yeah, Capcom basically owned January at this point in the same way that Rockstar used to own May when they used to do that
Exactly,
thing. Yeah.
exactly that. Like they used to own May, and now it's Capcom. February, you are fighting Capcom, and that's just the nature of things now. But Donald, it is sad but exciting times at the same time. Because this is our last set of links in this format, hopefully, and I say hopefully not because I want you gone, but because we want to try new things.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to take this TV on the way out.
That's fine.
Just ignore that.
Dandy rules apply, so just take whatever you need. But yeah, so hopefully we should have a new format. You just have all the familiar faces, a little bit more focused content, a little bit of outside broadcast, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Are you excited to be able to kind of focus on your OTLs a bit more?
I will finally be able to spend my filming nights, just kicking back, relaxing, and watching you doing all the hard work in my position.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, and look, we're really excited for it. We hope you're excited for it too. It is a trial season, so feel free to jump in our Discord, jump in our emails, let us know what you think about the new format or what you'd like to see, what you'd like changed, that kind of stuff. Happy to have those conversations. We're pretty flexible. We do still have the mailbag segment we're planning for next year as well. So if you've got any questions of us.
Yeah, so go to our Discord, which you'll find links to on newgameplus.tv, but also go to newgameplus.tv for more video game coverage.
And don't forget Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all New Game Plus TV, one word. Instagram, all New Game Plus TV, one word. Donald Envenera, thank you very much for your time.
I'm going now. Do I just go leave
now?
No,
you can close. I was letting you close.
Yeah, no, I see how it is.
Oh, God, these fucking people, I tell you. Next week. See ya.